Do students really get dress coded unfairly?
In our project, we hope to investigate whether there is an association between gender and being dress coded in the Cranbrook Upper School. When further exploring our question, we want to understand the nature and extent of any gender bias that may exist within our specific data. We predict that there is indeed an association between gender and the frequency of dress codes received at the upper school. Specifically, we think girls receive more dress code violations than boys.
In general, dress codes can vary widely among schools, indicating that some dress codes disproportionately target and impact a certain gender. This is a crucial issue for our students because there have been many instances at Cranbrook in which individuals have reported feeling that dress codes are improperly enforced against them due to their gender.
It is also important to acknowledge that dress codes can unfairly impact individuals of all genders, including gender fluid and non-binary, although we only analyze the statistics of male and female students in our investigation. By using this sample, we will see if there's a clear association between gender and being dress coded.
To collect our data, we used a pre-existing survey that was provided to us by Dr. Cook. The survey was sent to the entire Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School, inquiring about their grade, gender, the number of times they've been dress coded, and some follow-up questions regarding their feelings toward the current dress code.
We determined this data to be reliable because the survey was administered by the Cranbrook faculty. Dr. Cook provided the data, and none of these people have any reason to be misreporting data. This survey was also anonymous, meaning none of the respondents had a reason to reply untruthfully. Out of the 360 Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School students who chose to respond to this survey, which was originally created by the 9th grade class officers and distributed by Mr. Rainwater, we randomly selected a sample of 84 students.
For simplicity, we did not include anyone who identifies as a gender other than male or female in our statistical analysis, as we found that they did not represent a sufficient amount of the data to meaningfully compare the results. Without these students, our sample includes 45 males and 35 females. Next, we checked the conditions of our sample. It was technically not a random sample, as self-selection bias might have caused our results to not accurately reflect on the larger population. There was both independence between the groups and the independence within each group. We also found our sample to be sufficiently large, as 80 students is greater than 30 students. We deemed a normal model to be appropriate. This chart divides the males and females from our sample by how many times they have been dress coded throughout their time at Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School. Never, once, or twice. The statistical measures show that females and males from our sample have the same median mode and range of the number of times they were dress coded. However, males have a higher mean and standard deviation than females.
This histogram chart shows that our data analyzing student number of dress codes contains no outliers. The majority of the students in our sample have never been dress coded. This two-variable bar chart displays that males have received more dress codes than females. Even though there are 10 more males than females in our sample, more females have never been dress coded.
This pie chart shows that about 25% of the females we sampled have been dress coded one or more times. This pie chart shows that about 43% of the males we sampled have been dress coded one or more times. With a p-value of 0.082 and a significance value of 0.05, we failed to reject the null, meaning that there is insufficient evidence to support our claim that there is a gender bias when getting dress coded at Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School. We then conducted a confidence interval, which resulted in between negative 0.596 and 0.036. Therefore, we are 95% confident that females have been dress coded between 59.6% less and 3.6% more than males at Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School. Our interval contains 0, therefore our results are inconclusive. We also confirmed our results using a 2-sample t-interval test on the calculator, to which the results matched. After analyzing the inference tests from our sample, we found that gender does not affect the number of dress codes. However, when looking at the data and graphs, males seem to be dress coded more than females.
Therefore, although we see an observed difference between the two genders in dress code, our sample of 80 students is relatively small, so the seemingly large effect is not statistically significant. So, the results of our sample indicate that there may not be an association between gender and dress codes for the students of Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School. Given how close our p-value was to the alpha level, we may want to revisit the issue addressing the shortcomings we found in the original survey. In the beginning, our sample was initially too small. We corrected this by randomizing additional students until we had a more appropriate sample size. This may have allowed for an error of representation. If this experiment were to be replicated, we suggest ensuring that the sample size is significantly large from the beginning.
In addition, there were forms of bias in the original questionnaire. People that filled out the form most likely completed it because they have strong opinions about being dress coded. The voluntary response bias could be addressed if we selected a SRS of Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School students and administered the survey. This would have allowed us to generalize our results to the larger community. Also, some grades had more time to complete this survey, which could have caused some grades to be overrepresented in our sample. To correct this, we could have separately analyzed each grade.
For simplicity, we only compared 2 genders in our sample, male and female. We did not include people who preferred not to state their gender or those who identify as non-binary, gender fluid, etc. in our statistical calculations, which certainly may have skewed our results. If we had more time and a more robust data set, we could have analyzed the full representation of Cranbrook Upper School more thoroughly. Doing all of these things would give us more confidence in our results. It is noteworthy that our somewhat flawed data gave results that were so close to being statistically significant. A more well-designed survey and analysis would provide more precise insight into any potential gender bias at Cranbrook Kingswood.